Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Mary Kay Worth. We'll be discussing her fantastic book, The Truth About Santa. There's a definite connection between the two. Santa and Jesus, do you know what they do? Available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. But guys, listen, if you want to get everything that Mary has to offer, do yourself a favor and go directly to her personal site, marykworth.com. There, not only will you find more information on Mary herself, you'll find more information on this book, The Truth About Santa. But guys, listen, Mary has 7 other titles that are published that are available on the site as well. So look into those. And I will say, Mary was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by some of the best movers in the business. Book Launch International Publishing. So if you have a book that you'd like moved, do yourself a favor and contact Book Launch. You can find out more information on them at booklaunchintl.com. And guys, listen, I can't think of a better person, of a more truer embodiment of a person of distinction than Mary Kay Worth. Okay, as I stated before, she has 7 other titles, so 8 titles that have been published. But guys, get this, she's written over 150 books that are still yet to be published, but the amount of work in her canon that she has been able to comprise is beyond impressive. I have never come across an individual that has really devoted themselves so thoroughly to their craft. I mean, it's beyond impressive. It really is. And I was telling Mary on the pre-screening call, it is truly an honor to have her here on the line to discuss her book, The Truth About Santa, because aside from the title being absolutely enticing, it just sucking you in, right? Like I just love the rhyming couplets. It's wonderful. But also the story behind it is absolutely magical. We know Christmas here in the States, and I'm sure probably internationally as well, but within my experience here in the States, Christmas has really developed into an economic-driven holiday. And so often, we aren't really told the story of Christmas, right? The story of Christ right there in the Word. It has his name. And I remember growing up, me and my brothers, we went to church and we knew about that underlying message. We knew about the story of Christ, and really that's how Christmas came about. But I'm not going to lie, from a child's perspective, I was looking forward to gifts. I was looking for waking up on Christmas morning, coming downstairs and seeing, what Santa had left for me. And I love it because her book is not really answering one without the other. In Mary's world, they both exist, Santa and the story of Christ. Now, there's a way that they're balanced together. And ultimately, it's a story of hope, but it's such a unique perspective that she's taken, and I really love it because it's comprised and articulated through a poem. So sit back, strap in, get ready for a fun-filled ride with an education attached to it. Mary, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you so much for being a guest. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you very much, Benji, for having me today. I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we are just as excited. We're looking forward to this as well. As I stated, it's an honor to have you here. Now, Mary, I know we have so much information to cover. Now, before we go into the book, let's hold off slightly. Start by telling our listening audience a little bit more about yourself, please.
I will. I actually was a single mom from the time I was 5 and 6 years old, college educated, taught special education for 16 years, and for 16 years I was an administrator. I was a principal for 10 years and a superintendent of schools before I retired and became an adjunct professor and worked on new teachers coming out. But my creativity always was there. But I stifled it a lot during my own personal career. But 6 months before I retired, it started coming out. And there was no holding it back. There was absolutely no holding it back. And that this whole family legacy library has been done in the last 9 years. Many of the photos are older than that. But it just and that's what happened with the book The Truth About Santa. I learned along the way that I like to take photographs and I like to write. I've kept a journal off and on for years, and often my journal has become my text for many of my books, with a date and a reference, and so they work really well because I can go back and I can look at them and I can look for them that way. And so that part has been extremely useful tool for me. And then it got married with technology, and I actually put the three together. And that's one of the first things that my publisher said to me: "You've got to give credit for who took the pictures." Well, I did. Okay, so you've got to give credit for who arranged them all. Well, I did. So I wrote them, I took the pictures, and I arranged them. And so when I published, I actually sent it. This is what I want it to look like. I know I can't use this clip art, but I can get comfortable and do it for the book. So let's go. And that's the way it went.
You know, Mary, I swear, you just continue to get more and more impressive to me. Thank you very much for saying that. Is incredible. You know, before we go into the book, I'd love to hear the inspiration behind this, because, of course, we quickly discussed it in the pre-screening call, and doing research on you, I came across that. But articulate to our listening audience, what inspired you to create this narrative?
The Truth About Santa is actually the oldest written poem, and that I share. It's on yellowed tin computer paper. That's how old it is. And I used to read it on a regular basis, and I wanted to publish it. And part of why I wanted to write that year, what my inspiration was the fact that my marriage had ended, and I had ended up at home with my sons, and I wanted to give them the reason for why this secular holiday going on in the middle of this Christian holiday, because we lived in Germany, and Santa has come and gone. In Germany, early December, he fills the shoes and the stockings. So they were very, very, very confused. So I wanted to write the poem, and I wrote it that summer of 1988. And I wanted to share with my family, and that was the summer I found out my mom was HIV positive, and it was more important that I complete this poem and share this poem. I wanted to have somebody illustrate it for me. Being an educator, I had lots of access to art departments and people, and it's a tough subject to illustrate. And it wasn't until my inspiration to finally publish this book came with an aha moment, because I published my first Africa book, Hey Elephant, Where Are You? And the little voice, which I call God, said, Mary Kay, you don't have to wait anymore. You can publish The Truth About Santa with your own photos. So I took my own photos and I arranged it, and there it went.
Now, without further ado, let's jump right in. The Truth About Santa. There's a definite connection between the two. Santa and Jesus, do you know what they do? Tell us a little bit more about your book, please.
Jesus lived and died for all of our sins. He rose again so sinners can And Santa's the guy that helps us make way for the big birthday party on Christmas Day. So um, the the book itself is filled with pictures of our Christmases over the years that fit in with the poem, and just tell the story of the truth about Santa, and the fact I actually think that the Clement Moore poem had a whole lot to do with it, because I think the Clement Moore poem, had Santa coming, and it was obviously it's a classic and it's a good poem, but at the same time, it never made the connection with Christ, and I knew that I could make a connection with Christ, and I wanted to make a connection with Christ because that's what Christmas really was about. And we've always had a birthday cake for Jesus on Christmas Day. That just was part of it, and I think that that's part of the truth about Santa is really, even though it smacks of a children's book, as some of my other ones do, this one is really intended for all ages. This one is intended to be with the annual Christmas decorations, and when it get out, it gets read annually by the whole family that's gathered together. That's the heart of the book, is the hope. And in a time it was really dark, my marriage was ending, and my mother was given a 2-year death sentence.
I'm so sorry.
And I needed hope badly.
I love the fact that this originated from such a heartfelt place, because as we listen to you talk, we recognize the passion and the connection that you have with the book, and that in and of itself makes the journey that your readers are going to embark upon so powerful, right? And it really connects and resonates, because we all need hope, right? Especially given the year that we all just have been through. Hope is something that is in short supply, and it is such a timely book to have on our shelves. I'd love to know, we know about the book, we know about your experience and your background. In terms of the writing itself, in terms of the journey itself, what would you say was a highlight for you in writing this book?
My poems particularly come fast. It is not something that is done over a long period of time. It is my choice, and I choose to believe that I just write what I'm told. And the poems come to me hard and fast. And the truth about Santa came to me hard and fast. I mean, who comes up with those rhymes? Who does that? I didn't figure it was me that was all involved with it. It's and even the title. Who comes up with that? How did that come to that? I just knew, because I believe I was told, and I listen, and I believe that we all have the capabilities of doing that. And the only difference, because we are all loved, every single one of us is loved, but the only difference is I listen and then I act.
Here on the line with Mary K. Worth, we're discussing her fantastic book, The Truth About Santa. There's a definite connection between the two, Santa and Jesus. Do you know what they do? Available for purchase at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or again, directly through her personal site, marykworth.com. Mary, as we start to tie up this fantastic interview, we have some extra time left, and I'd love to, since you have so many titles, of course, we can't go into all of them, right? Your canon is just that big. But we have you here on the line. We have some extra moments. Please, if you can, one of the other titles in which you've written, or I know you're in the process of creating another one at the moment, please articulate to our listening audience one of the other titles you have in your repertoire.
Well, one of the other titles that is already published is I'm gonna go to the train series. There's 2 books: Pop-Up's Train Ride and The Great Train Robbery. And again, I'll talk specifically about The Great Train Robbery. That is my 8th published book. And by then, I already had a contract with the train company, and I was writing and able to publish or sell my book, Pop-Up's Train Ride. But I knew I wanted to write another book, The Great Train Robbery. And the first day I wrote, the poem came to me fast. And so the second day, I wrote again. I specifically put myself on the car where I knew that the train would stop and the bad cowboys would enter the train. And because there was a piece of the poem that I didn't have a picture for, so I literally put myself in the drama. And the bad cowboys are coming onto the train, and from the back, with my camera ready, I holler, "Hands in the air!" And even the sheriff, who was part of the act, everybody put their hands up. And so I got this great shot. It's in my book. And it's just because I'm just afraid to do some of those things, and but also know when I have to follow rules. But I've always been a rule breaker. Even as a superintendent of schools, you just do stuff and don't tell people. That's how it works. So anyway, but The Great Train Robbery, again, I had a lot of fun taking the pictures, and it's a great learning curve between that one and Pop-Up's Train Ride, because one of the people in Pop-Up's Train Ride is also in the Great Train Robbery, but he has a different role and he's in a different costume. So I asked, people to compare the 2 books and to look at the differences between the 2 books. So it's just I think I said it best on my video. The very best is always reading with kids and interacting and reading with people and interacting, watching their faces. And it's a blessing for me to be able to witness that. It's just a blessing. I mean, I do want to go back to the truth about Santa. Can I do this?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Okay. Because I want to tell you about just before COVID last year, December, I had moved to Virginia to get out of the snow and ice because I no longer drive anymore and because I've had major brain bleeds. And I was living in the Devonshire here in Hampton, Virginia. And I was on my scooter, which is going to give me mobility, and I don't get tired. And a lady comes walking in, and she's got fuchsia color hair. And everybody's looking at her hair. I'm not looking at her hair. I'm looking at what's under her arm. I said, "You've got my books." And she said, "I do." I said, "You're looking for me for autographs." And she said, "I am." And I said, "Do you mind telling me where you got these books?" And she said, "Well, one I bought from Amazon, and the other," she said, "I picked up at a yard sale here in Hampton, Virginia." Who knew that? I mean, who knew? Oh, I don't know how that happened. I don't know. But she had 2 copies of my book, and that is exactly what happened.
That's incredible. Mary, this is something I wanted to bring up at the very beginning of this interview, but, I have to bring it up now. Your energy is absolutely, your whatever you want to call it, your energy, your aura, your personality, your attitude. It is so beyond impressive. I mean, it literally is. It's just infectious. And
Thank you.
I had a very short time in education, very brief stint. I taught college for 3 years, taught elementary for 1. My significant other, she's a high school teacher, and she's been teaching for about 15 years now. And I know firsthand the amount of work that it takes to be a good teacher and to really reach your students, and how, teachers never get the amount of credit that they deserve for the amount of work that they have to put in and the number of hats that they have to wear, right? You're not just a teacher, okay? There's so many other things that you have to be. And the fact that, again, listening to you speak and your stories that you've created, I can already tell that when you were a teacher, when you were an educator, you must have had such a huge impact on the young minds around you, because, again, given all those things that I've already said, but when you can actually bring the education to your kids and you make it fun for them, that is truly when you start to break the barriers and you can reach your students. And I can already tell, just again, from listening to you speak, that your demeanor that you had in the classroom must have been infectious, and the impact that you had on the young minds that you worked with must have been profound. Guys, you know what you have to do. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, MaryKWorth.com are the places you have to go. The Truth About Santa is the title you have to look into, as well as so many others. And Mary K. Worth is the author that you have to thank for bringing it to your table. It is such a fun-filled journey for you to take with your family, but it's an even better gift for you to get for somebody else's. Do yourself a favor. You surely will not be disappointed. Mary, this has been an absolute honor. Thank you once again for being a guest with us today on People of Distinction.
You're welcome. It has been my pleasure, and we know that what happens from here is all up to the person I choose to call God. So here we go.